immediately we had TV and movie interest. So my books are sexy, and so they appreciated that. It was super fun.
That?
I mean, who doesn't love it? It's great.
Bringing the lockable Yondr pouches into every middle school kid for the next school year. It's the strictest policy in San Diego County.
And we were learning about just the basics of protesting. And how do we hold a megaphone? How do we keep ourselves safe?
Right.
How do we guide a crowd?
Hi, and welcome to the podcast. This is our very first episode, so we're going to start where every conversation on the show is going to start. Coronado is not an island. I know it looks like one. Everyone says Coronado Island. It feels like one sometimes. But the bridge across the bay does some of the work of making it feel like one, too. The bridge runs both ways, though. What happens out there shapes life here, and what happens here matters out there. I am Laura Wilkinson Sinton. This is Coronado is Not an Island, a production of the Coronado Democratic Club, about the local stories that connect us to the rest of the county and the country. For the pilot, we have two conversations. First, we have a sit-down with one of Coronado's most interesting residents, USA Today bestselling novelist Alana Albertson. Her books are set in this town and across the bridge. One of them is being made into a television show and actually now a movie filmed right here in Coronado. She's also, by the way, a Harvard-educated former classroom teacher who runs a nonprofit dog rescue that's saved more than 500 shelter dogs. We're going to spend the first half of the show getting to know her. Then we shift to a panel with two Coronado High School seniors who are graduating right now and leaving this town with a track record most adults would love to have. Sean Wilber, who co-founded the Stop the Sewage Club, and Haissam Kouli, who sits on the school board as the student trustee and serves as the high school student body president. We'll talk to them about three issues that have defined this year in Coronado: phones in schools, e-bikes, and the Tijuana River sewage crisis. If you're new to the show, make sure and hit follow and subscribe. If you've been a part of this club for a while, share this episode with someone you know in town. Let's get into it. Alana, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So how did you... First, let's back up and talk about your new novel that's being made into a television show and, I understand, movie. It's Romeo y Julieta. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. So Ramón and Julietta I wrote it in 2020. It was published in 2022. And so I had, prior to this, written 30 novels or 29 novels. And those books were independently published.
Pretty prolific.
It seems so, but many romance authors write that many, especially when they're independently published, not traditionally published. So it was just something that I would do at night. I'm a very fast drafter. I used to say I wrote 50 pages a day at Harvard. So, what's the difference? Just
Wow.
Yeah, for homework. So I saw Crazy Rich Asians in the theater and I was crying. Everyone was laughing. And I thought, where is our movie? I was sick of seeing, I'm half Mexican. I know I don't look it, but I am half Mexican. My mom is Mexican. And so I wanted better representation in media. And that we're not just maids or drug dealers, or all of our stories are about crossing the border. And so I literally texted my agent, I said, I want to write Crazy Rich Mexicans. Have you ever been to Coronado? And I wrote 50 pages that night, and the next day we had a deal.
Wow.
So we had, for the book, we had multiple offers from 4 different publishers. We had a 6-figure deal, 3-book deal.
Really?
Yeah. And then immediately we had TV and movie interest. And that is actually why I went traditionally published. Prior to that, my books were indie and they sold very well, but I could not get in front of producers and film people. And so they waited for the manuscript, and then I signed with an amazing agent at WME, and we had a fun little Hollywood bidding war, and we had 5 offers, which went down to 4 once we took bids, 2 for film and 2 for TV. And in the initial, this is now in 21, we sold it as a television show to Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin, and to Netflix. And the showrunner was Dylan Rodriguez from Queen of the South and Lincoln Lawyer.
Nice.
However, so I was so excited, over the moon. This is my dream. It was definitely happening. And then the writer's strike happened.
Oh, wow.
And that it obviously was not good. And then Netflix, they said it was going to stay and everything was going to happen. They let our executive go. And then eventually they decided not to do it as a TV show. And so the option ran up. And then a friend of mine, Nicholas Gonzalez, who I went to Stanford with, he's an actor. He's amazing on The Good Doctor and La Brea, which is on Netflix right now. He knew the producers of Get Out and BlacKkKlansman, and they had us write the screenplay, which was a horrific experience for me because I have no clue what I'm doing right now.
And you're an executive producer on this.
I will be executive producer. I did co-write the screenplay with my friend Nick, and then now we have finished the screenplay, and now it is slated to be a movie, and we are just right now finalizing the director and all that.
So we'll be able to see parts of Coronado in the movie.
Yes, because it is set in Coronado.
Oh, wow.
Ramon lives in Coronado. And on page 182, they go to Bay Books. And so Bay Books, and they go to Holland Bicycles. When I went to Holland one day and I saw this Day of the Dead bicycle that I did purchase, and it's in the book.
My girlfriend Carol has one too.
Oh, it's the coolest. I'm obsessed with it. I have all these pictures of it. I actually won't let anyone ride it because it's just my pretty bicycle. But yeah, so they spend time in Coronado, and Ramon lives in Coronado, and Julietta lives in Barrio.
So without giving away the whole plot, how is it set? It's set on two families on both sides of the bridge, or?
Yes. So yes, it is. So the concept was. Obviously, as being a former English major, was Romeo and Juliet. And so I wanted to set it at Day of the Dead. And without spoiling it, they meet on Day of the Dead, but they have the makeup and they don't know who each other is. And then she runs a seat-to-table taqueria in Barrio Logan, and his father founded a big fish taco chain, which shall remain nameless. And
couldn't possibly speculate on which one.
I mean, we have no idea. And then but he's a gentrifier or a gentrifier, and he goes to buy her entire block in Barrio Logan and to change it into chains. Because while I was writing it, there was a ton of gentrification in Barrio Logan, and it's changed so much. And so, but then he finds out that he sees her, but his dad stole her mom's fish taco recipe in Baja in the 70s. And so then it's just the campuses, and they go back and forth. And so, so that's the story. So he lives there. And
when is it planning to be shot in Coronado? Do you know?
No, we don't know right now, but we are right now securing the director and everything. So, yeah.
So how did you get here? How did you? Okay, so you went to Stanford as an undergrad, got an English degree, and then went to Harvard and got an education degree.
Correct.
So how did you wind up in Coronado writing romance novels with 2 sons, married to a Marine, 5 dogs you have now?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you get to Coronado initially?
So I've always loved Coronado. It was always magical for me. And in my 20s, I may or may not have dated a Navy SEAL in Coronado. I don't know. And so
Our lips are sealed.
I don't know.
Who didn't, right?
And so I started I used to call him research. I started writing Navy SEAL. Well, actually, I never wanted to be a writer. So what's very interesting, most of my writing friends I've always wanted to be a writer. I had no desire to be a writer. I was a competitive ballroom dancer, and that's how I ended up in San Diego.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
Competitive ballroom dancer.
Yeah. Back before it was cool, I did ballet all through high school. I was horrible at it. And then when I was 18, I was obsessed with the movie Saturday Night Fever. So I took a tango hustle class, and I took disco, and I saw these ballroom dancers. And again, this is before ballroom dancing, before Dancing Up with the Stars was on. You would only see it on PBS at Ohio Star Ball. And I saw this couple, and they were Ukrainian refugees, and they were the American or the U.S. national champions. And I was blown away. And I said, oh my gosh, what are you doing? How do I do this? Yeah. And they said, we don't speak English. We've lived in San Francisco for 5 years. And I said, okay, well, I'll learn Russian, and you will teach me.
Wait, what? You learned Russian?
Yeah, Paruski. So I started studying Russian, and I drove to San Francisco every day, and I trained 8 hours a day with with this couple, and they got me a partner, and it became my entire identity. And all I cared about was ballroom dancing, and that is why I moved to San Diego, because at the time my coaches were here. Mary Murphy from who's now on So You Think You Can Dance. All the top ballroom dancers lived in San Diego, so to me this was the mecca. So after Stanford,
Wait, what? San Diego is a mecca of
it was.
ballroom
It
dancing?
was. No, but I mean, we're
Right.
talking 98.
Sure.
So that is why I initially came here. And so though I had my master's, or this is before, I had my undergrad in English, I came down here and I worked at UC San Diego at an EAOP, which is Early Educational Outreach Program. And so that's what I did. And I worked there and I danced. I danced 8 hours a day, competing here. And then I went to Harvard to get my master's in education, and I came back here. So, yeah.
That's how you wound up here.
Yeah.
How did you meet your husband? He wasn't a ballroom dancer, obviously.
Absolutely not. No. I met him in Hawaii. I was just a tourist and met him, and he was a Marine there. And yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have 2 sons. So you have 5 dogs. I mean,
That's my fault, not his.
So you obviously Pugs and Roses is a nonprofit, or that's how you
100%.
started rescuing. So what dog charmed you into doing this?
Yeah, another thing I never wanted to do. So I had a pug, but completely random story. In Marin County, I used to like this rock band, and I knew this girl who was, she had been dating Steven Adler right after he ended up in Marin County. He was in, after his heart attack and one of his overdoses, and he had a pug named Winston, and I would go there.
Steve Adler, the musician.
Pardon?
Steve Adler
is the drummer, the former drummer of Guns N' Roses.
Right.
And so I had a friend who was dating him, and he had a pug named Winston. And so I would see him. He was recovering from his heart attack, and I would always say Pugs and Roses, Pugs and Roses. It was my joke. I was like 16, 15. And then years later, I was living in Temecula, and San Diego Pug Rescue asked me to go to a local shelter and look at a pug. And then I sent them the picture. This is, again, before social media, and the pug was not pure, and they didn't take the pug, and then that dog died. And I kind of lost my mind. And so I founded a rescue that day called Pugs and Roses, and I took the mixes that the purebred rescues would not take.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that kept you busy.
Yeah.
So how did you wind up with 5 dogs yourself? Are these
so I
rescues?
end up with the dogs nobody wants. So all my dogs are the rejects. So I mean, so I am no longer. I mean, I still have the rescue, but I was super involved in it. So I used to drive to Apple Valley, Devore, all these Animal Friends of the Valley, all these shelters in more rural areas where they're killing every single solitary dog after 72 hours, and I would go rescue them. And then the ones that wouldn't get adopted, somehow you end up with. So
You have a very patient husband?
yeah. Yeah.
How did you wind up back in Coronado?
So Coronado, it's funny. I had spent a lot of my 20s there. Again, I was dating a buds instructor, and I was also a full-time tutor in Coronado. So I worked there every single day. Funny, one of the things about the bridge, I was constantly late to my job because of the bridge, and it was so, because I'm never late for anything, and it would drive me insane. So I was always like, but I was tutoring full time in Coronado, had multiple clients, and anyway, so then I started writing. So I didn't want to write, and then I wrote a chick lit book, horrible, awful book about ballroom dancing, and I come back. I didn't want to be a writer. I was never writing, but I was an English major at Stanford, and I read real books. And I really read a lot of literature of passing African-American 19th century fiction. And that was kind of my thing. And I read Shakespeare and Arthurian romance. And so I never saw myself as a writer, because I would read these amazing books, and I was like, I can't do that. And then I read a chick lit book by Elisa Valdez Rodriguez, which called Dirty Girls Social Club, and it was about 6 college-educated Latinas in Boston, and it was the first time I ever saw myself in a book, and it was the first time that I ever thought I could write, which about representation in literature.
Sure.
And so I fangirled her. Stalk is a strong word, but I started writing her, and I went to meet her multiple times. And she was incredible. And I was telling her all these crazy ballroom stories. And she said, you should write a book. And I said, I don't write. I'm a dancer, and I, tutor, and I do educational work. And she said, no, you should write a book. And so she gave my book to her agent, who didn't want it because, again, the book was horrible. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should write. So I spent years writing this book. And then I got my agent, who I'm obsessed with. Shout out Jill Marcel. And she lives in San Diego. And it didn't sell because Chick Lit had ended. And she, I would say, sentenced me to reading reading a romance novel, because I'd never read romance. I was a snob. And so I was like, I don't read. I read these other books. But so she sentenced me to, I found a Daniel Steele book that was set in Marin. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And then I started writing romance. And then it was just something I did when my kids were little. And I just started writing all these books. And then there was a ridiculous book that had hit the New York Times bestseller. And it was about a Navy SEAL who lived in Texas. And he met this girl on a beach who had like 8 kids, and he leaves the SEALs to open a pie shop in Maine. And I thought, has anyone ever met a Navy SEAL? Like, has she ever? I was like, really okay, so, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And so I started writing. I wrote a Navy SEAL book set in Coronado. That one was called Invincible, and it blew up.
Really?
It was about, and I mean, and it blew up, and then I just started writing all the books. So all my books were set in Coronado. So it was always kind of a happy place, and I would always visit.
Sure.
But I never thought I would.
What do people misunderstand about romance novels if they haven't read them?
Romance, and myself included, I had a deep prejudice about it. And I mean, I was the president of a Romance Writers of America chapter, and I once wrote a blog called I Hate Romance, and everyone was very mad at me, but I was so snobby about it. And it was because I didn't understand it. It is such a powerful genre. It is so women focused, anti-misogynist. And it's $1 billion industry. And the reason many books can be published literary is because of romance novels keep them on float. And it is so incredible because you have women in all different walks of life who do it. Most of the women that I meet who are romance authors are lawyers, politicians. I mean, just some of the most doctors, some of the most incredible professors, people.
And I understand Stacey Abrams, the great voting rights advocate out of Georgia who ran for governor.
Stacey Abrams is a romance author. She's absolutely incredible. The romance community came out to rally for her. We are so powerful, speaking on political issues and fundraising, and it's just such an incredible community. I'll never stop writing romance. I am working in other genres now, but I love it. And so, like, for my books, even though, yes, they are romance, like Ramona and Julietta is about gentrification, and Kiss Me, Me More is about farm workers' rights.
Very relevant in California for sure. Both.
Right, exactly. So in one of my interviews about for movie rights, Eva Longoria said, you don't want to hit him over the head with a tortilla. So you...
I mean something else in Coronado too, as you know.
Well, actually, let's take that off the... Oh my gosh. We cannot say that here. Absolutely not. But basically her point was, you can talk so much about social issues by... My goal is when someone reads my book is they think it's a fun, frothy romance, which it is. And you get romance and love and it's fun. But each of my books talk about some issue that's more important. I have a book about sex trafficking, farm workers' rights, cultural appropriation, but they're romance, right? So it's kind of like a gateway. So I'm hoping someone can read my book and then maybe think differently about other issues.
Okay. Tell me about your average day, because it sounds like you don't sleep.
I don't at all. So yeah, the kids go to school, dog routine, and I write. And so I make copious amounts of coffee, or I meet one of my friends and we pretend to write and we don't. But usually I write. And then I'm a huge needle pointer. That's kind of my thing. So I needle point while I consume.
Is that how you calm down?
That's how I calm down. It's how I consume content, because I can't watch content unless I'm doing something. So I needle point while currently I'm watching Off Campus. Shout out Al Kennedy. And then help the kids with homework and work out and
And
do
your boys are sailors.
Yes. Yeah. They're competitive sailors, which is the Coronado connection. They never sailed, and no one in our family has sailed. And they took a summer camp at the Mission Bay Aquatic Center, not even the yacht club. And they said, we like sailing. And I said, okay, that's weird. Why? And I don't like water. And so then they,
We'll get you there.
We'll get me there. My sons forced me on a boat. Yeah, so I called the San Diego Yacht Club and the Mission Bay Yacht Club, and they all had these like huge programs to get in. And my kids were kind of older. And so I called Jill Powell at the Coronado Yacht Club. She said, yeah, just take 3 private lessons and we'll put them on the race team.
Perfect.
And next thing you know, they're sailing and winning regattas, and it's my entire identity.
Right.
So,
And Coronado has 2 yacht clubs, the
Correct.
Coronado Cays Yacht Club and the Coronado Yacht Club. So
absolutely.
lots of opportunity to sail.
And
for
a
sure.
ton of incredible residents who've won Olympics and world champions, and they're just obsessed with it. So
Yeah, and you're one of the most fascinating people on the island. I understand that there was a local book club. We have a lot of book clubs in Coronado, as you know, and one of them, because of you, picked up Romeo y Julieta. I have to make sure I can get that proper. And you spoke to the book club. What was their review of it, and what were they thinking about all of it?
They liked that it had different issues. They thought it was fun, that it was around here. They liked the, my books, I write romance books, and they're books for adults. Right. So my books are sexy, and so they appreciated that. It was super fun.
That?
I mean, who doesn't love it? It's great. And someone made a great point at the club is that there's violence in books and violence in TV, and there's sex in books, and it's natural. And so it's great to see like a positive representation of that.
Sure.
That's female focused.
I've been watching Off Campus at your recommendation. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's part of life. So,
and what's so incredible about Off Campus, and and I've been a huge, I've known Ellen, been a fan, and she wrote a
new series, by the way, on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime. Her book, Him and Us, were 2 of my favorite books.
Right.
But what's so amazing, it's all about consent. So you see it's this great new way of male masculinity that you see these men who are incredibly masculine. And I mean, one of them beats some guy up, whatever, but they are constantly asking for consent from the women. It's very female focused. Right. And though they may be playboys or whatever the word, they're upfront with their actions and whatever. Right. And it's such a refreshing thing. And I think prior to having so many romance shows on, and I have a ton of friends with other movies and TV shows in development as well. And to now see romance, because before we would have dramas like, I don't know, One Tree Hill or Dawson's Creek or whatever, but they weren't romances, and they were always getting together and breaking up. I always think of like Moonlighting or like, Who's the Boss and everything. And it's like, but you didn't get that kind of satisfaction of a romance. So what makes a romance is, and I was on a panel at the San Diego Writers Festival, and I was fighting with 2 amazing authors who were huge, and they were saying, oh, well, what's a love story? Is it a romance without a happy ending? And they were like, oh, yes, it still is. And I said, absolutely not. Is it a mystery without solving the crime? A romance ends with a couple together, happily ever after, happily for now. And so it gives you that satisfying that no matter what they go through, they're going to end up together.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. And let me put on the record that I will throw the Oscar watch party for your nominations when they come up.
I don't even care about my real. I appreciate that. My real goal, all I want is my other obsession is Broadway. I go to New York a lot to see Broadway, and I will be working this year to turn Ramón and Julietta into a musical. And so I'm working on the book for that now. And so I only want a Tony, but I'll take an EGOT. And
I will introduce you. We have some people who live on the island who were Broadway stars.
Incredible.
In the 90s and 80s. And they still have that personality. So you will love it. But it's perfect. And we're so grateful to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alana Albertson. We can find you at Bay Books or any of the places where your books are sold. And follow the Ramón y Julietta story as it gets closer and closer to launch. The TV adaptation, actually, the movie is let us know as soon as it's going to be filmed, so we can go and
you'll be the first person.
We can gog around it.
Yeah.
When it's going,
we'll film
when we block off Orange Avenue for the scenes, it'll be perfect.
Yeah. I've already sourced the Day of the Dead bikes. We're ready to roll.
Perfect, ready to roll. All right, thank you so much, Alana Albertson. Thank you for being on the podcast. Coronado, is not an island.
Coronado is not an island.
No, it is not. Now we'll talk to 2 Coronado High School seniors, both graduating, and 3 of the issues that have defined the year in Coronado schools: cell phones in schools, e-bikes, and the Tijuana River sewage crisis. Sean and Haissam, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start with something every parent in town is either happy about or inflamed about. They're certainly talking about it. It's the CUSD school policy, bringing the lockable Yondr pouches into every middle school kid for the next school year. It's the strictest policy in San Diego County. How did this come about? And being on the school board yourself, what were the reactions in the community?
Yeah. So my name is Haissam, by the way. This problem came about because many members in Coronado Unified School District have recognized problems to do with cell phones and have realized that it's detrimental to mental health in many cases. There are ways for students to cheat or kind of embellish their academic results using technology.
Right.
And parents in general, as well as the board members, have found many problems to do with cell phones. So it came about from identifying that problem and those problems, excuse me, and kind of trying to find a way to work towards a solution for that.
Right. So is it middle school? Is it high school? I noticed they didn't push it in high school. What was the pushback on that?
I think that the high schoolers have done a lot of self-advocacy in trying to describe what the problem actually has entailed when it pertains to both the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. Because there are major differences. The middle schoolers have younger minds. They're a lot more malleable. They can be more susceptible to malicious intent from
Their brains are still forming.
yeah, their brains are still forming.
Well, we all are.
Yeah.
Maybe more
And
so
while
there.
the high schoolers are still forming, I think that they have a lot more agency when it comes to how they can use cell phones and how responsibly they can use them.
How do you deal with parents who want their kids to have cell phones because they're concerned about safety or things like that?
How do I deal with parents who want to use?
Well, how does the school
Yeah.
board? How do the
How-
policies of the school board? Not you directly,
yeah.
because you're going to college.
Because I can't decide on it.
You're
Yeah.
going to college. How do we manage those expectations and those emotions in the community with people who feel their kids should have cell phones at all times
Yeah.
versus the harm that can be done?
Yeah. So the school board has held numerous panels to discuss with parents at the school district about parents' concerns and how the school board wants to
Right.
kind of tackle these problems.
Mhm.
One of those panels was really helpful in educating the board members on what parents think, and it helped board members kind of make their own decisions and figure out what they thought would be the best solution.
So they took the recommendations to the school board, and the school board put
Yeah,
it out to the public.
parents came with their concerns to panels,
Sure.
and they oftentimes do over email as well.
Right.
And Superintendent Mueller has done a great job of proposing numerous solutions that could.
He has. I
tackle
mean, he's really
those.
a dedicated superintendent.
He is seriously one of the greatest people I've ever met. He's
Yeah.
really,
People don't say that about superintendents of schools, but they say it about him.
Mr. Mueller is a great person.
So we wound up with a strict middle school policy, much more open, and we have an open campus during lunch for the entire high school too.
Yes. At the high school, it's a little bit more of a logistic issue than it is at either the middle or elementary schools.
Right.
Because students are allowed to leave campus during lunch.
Right.
There are so many variables in terms of scheduling,
Right.
which is why many students kind of pushed back against having a more strict policy at specifically the high school. I think it's almost commonplace to say that, at the elementary and middle school, the decision that was made and the ban that is going to be taken that the band that is going to be used at the village,
Mhm.
at the elementary and middle school,
Right.
is actually going to be very useful. I think the big question is like whether or not that's going to work at the high school.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is happening everywhere, not just in Coronado,
Yeah.
throughout schools, because they found that having phones are just a total distraction. Teachers have a very difficult time teaching if kids can pull out their phone and if they're on social media or texting with their friends.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes teachers find it really difficult to just tell a student to put their phone away because either the student will fight back or they just,
hmm And San Diego Unified is on
Yeah.
the same path too.
Yeah.
Many of the school districts are on the same pathway, but Coronado is really leading the way
Yeah,
on this.
we're pioneers.
And you think it's going to be good?
The current decision that
Yeah.
has been made,
Yeah, the Yondr in the middle
I
school.
think that the high schoolers are well equipped to prove themselves.
Mhm.
There's also a world where they perhaps show the board members, hey, we might not be ready to just have our phones and give ourselves agency. But I believe that a lot of the high schoolers have a really good amount of self-control,
Mhm.
and they're going to be able to show the school board members, hey, we can still have access to our phones
Mhm.
and use them responsibly, not really use them for
They're going to have
malicious
to
intent.
demonstrate it, I guess, right?
This year is definitely a year where like this a year where it's going to be piloted for
Right.
sure. So
Right.
we're going to see whether or not it's going to work.
And California has a phone-free school act that's taking effect this year as well.
Correct.
You're familiar with that.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens. I'm sure it's something that people at all sides of the political spectrum can agree upon. Is that?
Yeah. So in terms of the politics thing, like I think that a lot of people have their own personal preferences when it comes to using cell phones
Right.
or allowing their children to use cell phones.
Sure.
A Democrat and a Republican may have almost the exact same views in terms of cell phone usage.
Yeah.
In my personal experience, I've seen that. So I think there is a way where, Democrats and Republicans can come together and come to a consensus. Yeah.
How do you feel about the ban on phones in middle school?
Yeah,
I
I
mean, you have a younger brother.
Yeah, the policy that was implemented, we presented the board with 4 different options, A, B, C, and D, ranging from staying as it is, the status quo,
Right.
up to a complete Yondr pouches for every campus. And so we landed at this option, and I feel this was the best of the possible options that were presented to the board. I'd like to add into the law that's going into effect, we already comply with that. So this is another step that we're taking that Coronado schools felt necessary, and I would agree with that, felt
Right.
necessary to address the multitude of issues that are happening across the schools, because really it's the same item. It's the same iPhone 14 or iPhone 15, but when placed in the hands of a middle schooler, it's causing vastly different problems than when it's placed in the hand of a high schooler.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
we were able to kind of prove to the board that the differences were strong enough that differences in solutions were also definitely necessary.
Right.
The problems for high schoolers are from the start of class to the end of class, utilizing ChatGPT, Gemini, other
Sure.
AI sources on their
Sure.
devices.
Mhm.
And
Academic integrity.
yes, so it's an academic integrity issue from class periods, whereas the biggest problem at the middle school is on the flip side, it's between the end of one class and the start of the other. Students are on their phones more than they're engaging with others. They're
Right.
using their phones and technology to bully or harass other students.
Instead of interacting socially.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's heads down time
Perfect
because
sense, yeah.
you see everybody's heads and their foreheads when you're walking around because everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
And we just don't have that problem at the high school. We have our phones out during break, but I know I check a couple Instagram updates I got as
Right.
I walk to my friend group, but then we're all standing in the quad, we're all chatting,
Right.
and it's a social environment.
I just wanted to add about the cell phone policy that the board members have taken a lot of consideration in terms of trying to figure out a solution. They have listened to the students. They have listened to everybody in the district who really wanted to voice their concerns. And
Strong opinions.
yeah, they are strong opinions. And I think that whatever ends up happening in the next couple of years to do with this cell phone policy, I think definitely trying to make the students' lives better. And I think that everybody should remember that and harbor some grace towards the board members because it's a very tough decision to make.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So let's jump on our e-bikes next. So e-bikes have been controversial pretty much in all coastal cities that have them. You don't have so much in the eastern part of San Diego County or eastern places because they're, it's a long way on the roads, on dangerous roads. But in communities like Coronado, e-bikes were really just a blessing in so many ways. For those of us who have kids who live in the Ks, it was easy to get them to school. They just hop on their e-bikes. But of course, there are those that take advantage of it. And we've all seen the e-bikes with wheelies down Orange Avenue. And we've taken some steps as a city to change that. How about the schools? How do the schools feel about e-bikes, and what are your personal feelings about them? We've instituted some guardrails now as a city council has, and enforcement from the Coronado Police Department has finally stepped up. But it's hard to chase kids down an alleyway if they're doing their wheelies on their e-bikes. So how do you feel about e-bikes, the progress we're making towards that, under 12 no longer being able to ride e-bikes? Your feelings on that?
hmm Uh, yeah, I actually just recently learned that Coronado was the first city in California to implement an under 12 ban.
Mhm.
I think that a lot of teachers, all the board members, a lot of adults in the community, uh, most of them tend to agree that e-bikes are not really safe for children to use.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to us high schoolers, like this is not a problem that we discuss as much. We kind of just like,
You're in cars.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
We have our 3-ton
yeah,
vehicle that's going down the road, and so, I mean, on a grand scale, I believe there is a bit of hypocrisy from the older generation in Coronado
Uh-huh.
that I see people on their manual bikes, they're blowing through stop signs, they're not waiting.
Adults.
Yes, adults,
Right.
the same
yeah,
ones that will hop on Facebook and be upset that a kid slowed down instead of fully stopping at the stop sign,
Right.
they just won't even slow down at all.
Right.
And so, I mean, I've been nearly hit by cars a couple times on island, but also nearly hit a couple times by bikes.
Yeah.
And all but one of those times, it was an adult riding a
Right.
normal bike. So maybe the problem is not the electric part, and maybe the problem isn't the kid part. I mean, across the country, we have bike infrastructure problems.
Sure.
Why do we have my little bike that I can pick up with my arms? Why is that on the same infrastructure as my car that, like, I have to heave?
So you're saying the
like
problem,
going down Orange Avenue.
Yeah.
right? The problem is the Indian, not the arrow.
Yes, I think it's a widespread problem
Right.
that's happening across the country, and so, I mean, in a city of blocks,
Hmm.
it's difficult to kind of cross-adapt bike and car and pedestrian and keep them all safe.
Right.
So I might suggest more widespread education across the entire community
Right.
because there's adults not wearing their helmet, and that
Oh,
is
yeah.
that's their prerogative, and it's not legally enforced that they're not wearing a helmet,
Sure.
but it's still not safe. And
No,
I
it
feel
isn't.
like we have such privilege to live in the community we do,
Mhm.
and I know that they could take steps to protect themselves more.
Sure.
The Coronado schools do, I don't know the name, where they do the bike education days. It's like an e-bike rodeo or something?
I've
Do
never heard of that.
They started doing them once we left CMS, but at the middle school and at
Mhm.
Village Elementary School, they do
Sure.
bike education days where they bring in the students and the police, and
Mhm.
it's like an after-school camp of
Sure.
sorts,
Sure.
for a half hour to an hour, and they talk about just things to know when you're riding your bike, laws that you have to be aware of and
Right.
such. I think
How
the
to
older
safely ride your bike.
Yes, the older members of our community need that as well.
Maybe we should have a rodeo for them as well.
Yes,
Mhm.
indeed.
I think that's
Yeah.
great.
At the same time, like, a lot of kids who are just blasting it,
Yes.
their e-bikes, hitting those wheelies. Like it's true. Like these kids shouldn't be doing that as well. I think everybody should just express a little bit more caution and
Sure.
safety. Like when considering, hey, I'm going down a road at like 20 miles per hour.
Mhm.
And uh, yeah, while a lot of these kids uh may be doing something that's unsafe, it's also the parents who bought the e-bike for them.
Mhm.
Um, so like it is the parents, or not incumbent on the parents, I wouldn't say, but uh, it is a choice that is made.
Sure.
Uh,
I
to
think it
allow.
is incumbent upon the parents to educate their kids in bike safety. If
Yes.
they're going to give them an electronic motorcycle, which is essentially what an e-bike is, it's an electronic motorcycle.
I understand, especially when it's a kid from Strand trying to get on to the island,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that definitely makes sense. I
Sure.
think it is pretty much needed
Yeah.
for a
For
little
a lot
kid.
of families.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a lot of
That is.
For a lot of families.
yeah,
Sure.
just to travel from the main island
Mhm.
down to the Cays. So I totally understand like those parents who want to get their kids an e-bike just so then they can commute better.
Sure.
So there's a give and take. Uh,
Okay.
Everybody should just express caution on the roads.
Let's talk about the Tijuana sewage issue. And full disclosure, I know both of you from stopthesewage.org. You both participated in our Sacramento trips. I'm the co-founder of stopthesewage.org. But the students have really found agency here and really made a huge difference where the adults were stuttering. I mean, we couldn't really get the traction, but yet it was the authority of you collecting letters and signatures for the city council to get a state of emergency. You're the ones who really helped turn the tide. Tell me about how it started. Tell me about both of your
Sean?
involvement in it.
Yeah.
Sean, do you want to get us started
so-
on that?
So we started our first meeting. We had about a dozen students came together,
Mhm.
and we went to a house of another one of the leaders, and we were learning about just the basics of protesting
Mhm.
and how do we hold a megaphone, how do we keep ourselves
Right.
safe, how do we guide a crowd. And well, the basics that day was just megaphones and protesting.
Mhm.
It was really symbolic of how do we lead a crowd of 80 plus students, the largest student run club
Mhm.
in the school district. How are we going to lead them and be responsible with that?
Right.
Because when students sign up for a club, they're entrusting us to represent them properly. And I think we've done an amazing job including a ton of different viewpoints and perspectives, trying to bring in students from every grade level, every sport, every after school activity. And so we're trying to build a coalition. And
Mhm.
that's what we really started with that first day is how do you build a team around you,
Mhm.
whether that's on a small scale, like at a protest, like the peaceful protests we held on the beach on numerous occasions,
Mhm.
or how are we leading students when we go up to the state capitol, we're knocking on doors, and we're trying to see how we can take action in the halls of the assembly and the state senate.
So when you went up to Sacramento just this last January, you knocked on almost every single door of every single assembly member and every state senator. That's remarkable. I mean, lobbyists take all year to do that and get paid lots of money, and yet you're flying up there to protect the public health and the recreation and your community. You're doing that on your own. It's very impressive. How did you do that? You broke into groups?
Yeah.
Explain how that
So-
worked when you just went this last January. And you've gone 4 times, correct?
Yes. So this last trip in April for California Oceans Day, that was my 4th trip
Mhm.
up. Haissam, that was your 2nd?
That was my second.
Yeah. So we have recurring students because obviously Haissam loved it enough the first time he wanted to loop back again. So
You guys have amazing outreach with those pizza.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Those pizzas that you guys bring in for every club meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is really
Big
effective
draw.
in getting a
Come
lot
for the
of
pizza, stay for the advocacy. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was first drawn in by the pizza.
Yeah.
And obviously your guys' mission is like so important. You and Danny have done such a good job at like outreaching and really just knocking on everybody's doors to get everybody involved in this.
Yeah.
And
So
explain to me the media portion of this, because the media savvy aspect of this, our first protest on the beach was just 50 community members who were furious that we were closed over Memorial Day. This was 2023. This is 3 years ago. And that was on on North Beach at Coronado. And that's where I met Danny Weingrad and you soon thereafter, who wanted to start a club at the high school. And we said, sure, we'd love to because it's affecting you. So the high school is how far away from the ocean and gets the vapor?
less than a mile.
Yeah, the high school
Yeah.
is less than a mile away from the ocean.
Mhm.
And so we knew we had to get a coalition of students together. You talked about connecting with the media. I mean, we need a big team to run
Mhm.
this operation. And so, like Haissam was talking about, we have a leadership team of 5, 7, maybe even 8 students
Mhm.
who are taking charge on various projects, who are sending emails to people because it would be a headache for one person to do. And so it's a lot of collaboration and a lot of depending on other people. And
Right.
I personally have learned a lot through that
Mhm.
and being able to tap into people's specialties on things that, hey, I'm not great at sending an email, like a cold email, but like Danny or Andrea can just like get super chill with them super quickly and like get all the information we need.
Danielle, Elizabeth, and Kleber can do
Yeah,
the
exactly.
interviews.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I'm not super educated on a niche part of the project, I know that Kleber and Danielle Elizabeth are gonna study up on that and they're gonna be great at it.
They'll have their talking points, they're media
all that,
savvy, and they know how to command
Yeah.
the news cycle for those various things,
Yeah.
which is an incredible life skill for advocacy.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I totally agree. And what I was shocked by when I went on my first trip with Stop the Sewage up to Sacramento is like how wide how spread out the outreach has gotten. Like Eric Camberos, he's not even a student who goes to our school district, but he visited Sacramento with us for the same purpose as us.
Yeah, he came up twice, or that was actually
That was
his fourth trip as this most recent one.
Yeah.
He's come up as
Yeah.
many times as me. He's a part of our youth circle initiative.
Right.
So students in similar clubs like us, like Stop the Sewage, across the county realized, hey, if we're all working individually, we're not going to maximize our time. So the mission of the youth circle was to take together leaders from environmental clubs all the way out in East County, all the way up in North County, and down here where it's affecting us personally. And we've been working together, hosting events, and we went up to Sacramento as well. So we got a group of students who don't even live in Coronado Beaches, but we're working with them and we're connecting as a team.
Yeah. And who have all been affected.
Yes, exactly.
And your leadership here, two quick things before we close out. Carl, the superintendent, had come to the club and spoken about how they have reverse engineered the portrait of a graduate of the Coronado schools because of the Stop the Sewage Club, because of your advocacy and leadership and environmental stewardship. They've actually drawn that into their portrait because you led on this issue, which is really admirable. What are the things that you're proudest of, and how will the succession plan work from here?
I'm definitely proud of like all the students who came together and went on a trip on a day of school and just advocated on behalf of like their own interests. They want to go to the beach. They want to get the problem solved, and they just went up, knocked on doors, and told their story. I'm definitely proud of all the students who were so willing and eager to solve a problem.
Right.
I'm definitely proud of the club's leadership, Danny and Sean, and like everybody who has really gotten this club going and just kept it running for years on end almost.
And now that
you
you're
guys got
graduating-
the third superintendent's trophy in a row. The Associated Student Body of Coronado High School definitely recognized how admirable all of your efforts are and how you guys keep one-upping yourselves every single year. You keep going on more trips. You keep protesting more. You keep reaching out to more students at Coronado High School. You keep getting pizza at all those club meetings. You guys really are doing a great job at just like keeping the fire burning, you know?
And a shout out to Abby Hartke, who is the teacher who hosts the Stop the Sewage Club meetings in her engineering classroom. She's really been a stalwart here too.
Yeah. Oh, and all the board trustees who
the board
attended.
trustees have been terrific. They participated in the lawsuit against Viola, which they were the first school system to do that, which took courage. And it shows that they want to protect the public health of their students. They got a little heat in the community for it, and they withstood it because it's worth it for the kids.
Yeah,
They really
the board trustees definitely do everything in their power to really enhance the students' lives at CUSD.
That I get. Succession plans. You're graduating.
Yeah.
How's the club going to survive without you and Danny?
Yeah, and so like I was talking about earlier, we're unique in the sense that it's not just a monarchy with a singular leader or whatever. We have a whole group of talented students, and so we've been planning succession for 2 years now. And so we have me and Danny as the former executive directors. 2 weeks ago, handed off the club to Andrea Reyes and Kleber Tawala. They were our deputy directors, assisted us with side tasks or extra things throughout the year. They're going to be stepping up into the leadership role. And then following them into the deputy director position will be Madden Pederzani Cole and Danielle Elizabeth Mensah-Ba. And they're super talented students. And so now we have a range from sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are super talented and going to take our club to the next level. And like Haissam said, we're going to keep one-upping ourselves because obviously we haven't
You're
stopped
gonna
the
go for
sewage
the
yet.
four-peat.
Oh, the four-peat.
Keep
Yeah,
going until
Yeah,
the
for
sewage.
Club of the Year, yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
going until the problem is solved. Pull every lever
exactly.
until every problem is
Yeah.
solved regarding this. Thank you so much. Haissam, Sean, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
on Coronado is not an island, because we know it's not,
Uh-huh.
geographically or politically.
Yeah.
That was
It's-
Sean
Yeah.
Wilber, co-founder and executive director of the Coronado High School Stop the Sewage Club. Haissam Kouli, ASB president and student board member at CUSD. Both of you, congratulations on your graduation and best of luck in college.
Yeah.
Both
And
leaving Coronado with the kind of resume most of us as adults would love to have, for sure. Earlier, you heard Alana Albertson, novelist, Coronado resident, and the person whose work is about to put this town in the movies yet again. Find her books wherever you buy books and watch for the Ramón and Julietta adaptation as it comes together. If you get something out of the episode, share it with someone in Coronado or across the bridge who hasn't heard yet about Coronado is not an island. So for more on the Coronado Democratic Club, visit coronadodemocrats.com. For more of the sewage crisis and the work the kids you just heard from are doing, visit stopthesewage.org. Coronado is not an island, and neither are you. We'll see you next time.